Spiritual people and conspiracy theories. I saw that there was an article, I believe, in The Guardian today about this subject. And being somebody who's uniquely qualified to talk about these subjects, I thought I would. And why am I qualified? Because I've been a healer, spiritual healer, you might call me, energy healer. I've been a past life regressionist and healer for 23 years. And so therefore I know a little bit about the spiritual side of this. Also, I'm kind of the rare healer who has studied a lot of political science. My bachelor's degree is in international affairs from the American College in Paris, now American University in Paris. And I also got a master's degree in political science from the City University of New York. But I was in that program, I was actually in a PhD program for 6 years. And when I found my passion was in becoming a healer, I got out of my PhD program with a master's degree. So I know a little bit about the so-called spiritual world, and I know more than average about politics and how the world works. So what's been happening is that it's been an interesting phenomenon through COVID, and that's really brought it to the forefront. But other things, that there are a lot of so-called spiritual people who are into conspiracy theories. Spiritual people that are anti-vax, whatever. So disclosure, I got the vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson, and so I am skeptical about vaccines. I am skeptical about pharmaceutical companies in general. I'm skeptical about the power structures and all kinds of stuff. But I'm also a little bit knowledgeable. I have a little bit of a knowledge of the medical field because both of my parents were in the medical field. So I grew up with my stepfather as a doctor, and my mom working in hospitals as a laboratory technician. So anyway, that's the background. Now let's break down this thing of spiritual people and conspiracy theories. Number one, spiritual people. Well, to me, in a way, that's kind of a ridiculous term. Because to me, everybody is a spirit. And it doesn't really matter whether you believe it or not. It doesn't matter if you believe in life after death. Once you die, you'll find out. Unless there is nothing after death, and then you won't. Because you won't be there because it'll be over. So anyway, and I've done around 2,000 past life regressions, and I've found that people do seem to have past lives, which means that right now they are living in a life after death. But anyway, so spiritual people, to me, really means people that are on a spiritual path. And what that means is a process of releasing everything that is not authentic, releasing your conditioning that you got from your family, from your upbringing, from your childhood traumas, maybe the religion you were brought up in, the society you were brought up in, and clearing away a lot of those things in order to allow spirit to come through, allow the essence of you to be manifest. So spiritual people is kind of a nonsense term, but we have to use these terms a lot of times because that's all we got. Otherwise, people, it takes forever to even talk about. You end up sitting there in a definition game for hours of defining your terms and never get on to anything else. The thing about so-called spiritual people, number one, there's no one setup for this. There's no, there are people that are in traditional religions that are very spiritual, that are seekers. And what I mean by that is that they're looking deeper than just to learn the book, like the Bible or the Quran or whatever the book is of their religion. They're going beyond. They're doing a lot of personal work. There are people that are in all kinds of different things, people doing yoga, people doing healing, all kinds of things. But when it comes down to it, these are people that are seeking a deeper meaning and seeking their own authenticity, to reveal that authenticity into the world. And the thing about these so-called spiritual people is that they are looking beyond the matrix of conventional accepted reality. So, for example, they're not saying, well, I had a difficult childhood, but everybody had a difficult childhood, so, I just move on and forget that all. No. They go and they explore the traumas of their childhood, explore how those things have impacted them to this day, and seek various forms of healing to change that. And so spiritual people are looking at underlying causes for dysfunction in the moment. Okay? Spiritual people are looking at, how did everything get so screwed up? First in me, and then inevitably we take that question out into the world. And we notice that there are power-hungry people. We notice that there are a lot of people who really don't care about other people, who are selfish, who are greedy, who will pollute the rivers, pollute the drinking water, if it will make them rich. And we notice that the world is really screwed up and dysfunctional, and we start looking for explanations. Just like we look for explanations of why we're screwed up, we look for explanations of why the world is screwed up. And so, we're also a little bit more intuitive and a little less programmed, hopefully, than the average person, because we are exploring these things. Now, you don't have to be a so-called spiritual person to want to understand the building blocks of the matrix of this consensus reality, but it's kind of an inevitable thing for a lot of spiritual seekers to take that seeking out into the world, into politics, the economic system, and like how everything is so screwed up. Why do such a small number of people own so many resources, and then while millions are starving or in debt in whatever financial situation they're in? And we have an innate feeling that, if it was a better world, people would care about helping each other, and they wouldn't be like Bezos or something that is trying to, own 100 mansions around the world and mistreat your employees in order to get that rich, for example. So it's kind of a natural thing to start looking at conspiracies. Now, Let's break down the idea of conspiracy theory. The fact that the idea of a conspiracy theory has been put into people's minds as automatically crazy and negative feels like a conspiracy on its own. If you are saying that conspiracy theories are crazy, then you're saying that there's no such thing as a conspiracy. And if you think there's no such thing as a conspiracy, then that means that all the evil in the world is conducted by individuals not working together with any other individuals. And that would seem to be a crazier idea than the idea of conspiracies. Obviously, there are conspiracies. Hitler couldn't have done the Holocaust all by himself. It would have been physically impossible. He needed others to help out. Watergate didn't happen just because of Nixon alone, right? So there are conspiracies. Can we agree on that? There are conspiracies. There are people that get together and plan certain nefarious activities. I think we could all agree that that definitely happens, right? There are lobbyists meeting with politicians to get what they want, whether it's for the good of the people or not. There are cartels. Can we all agree that there are conspiracies? Now, I'm not saying what the conspiracies are at this point. I'm just saying, can we agree that conspiracies do exist? That seems kind of elementary, and it seems kind of stupid to think that an idea is discredited automatically by calling it a conspiracy theory. But that has seeped into the consciousness to a large degree. Just notice anytime somebody says, well, that's a conspiracy theory, as if labeling something a conspiracy theory automatically discredits it. So, how do you automatically discredit something by calling it a conspiracy theory? You know, people used to not believe in the mafia. They would think, well, criminals aren't that organized. But we all know there are mafias. There have always been mafias of one form or another. We know that the power structure of the world, well, let's say of Western civilization, came through who got the power? The people who were able to assemble gangs of murderers to go and murder the neighboring populations and take their land and take whatever they want and burn things down and murder. And those people became the aristocrats of Europe, the royal families. And a lot of those people are rich and powerful to this day because their ancestors were murderers. And that is a fact. And so that's why these royal families exist. That's why these aristocratic bloodlines exist. Now, I'm not going down the line of they're all reptiles and all that kind of stuff, that's beyond my pay grade. But what I'm saying is, evil people have gotten together and created systems of oppression, inequality, and have been like parasites on the average person, and have and continue to suck the wealth out of the vast majority of the population into the top 1% or far less than 1%. And they're not all evil people just because they're rich, but there is a legacy that created this situation. So, conspiracies do exist, because to say that conspiracies do not exist means that all of these terrible things that have happened in the world were just done by individuals. As soon as you have two people going into this plan together, you have a conspiracy. You only need two people. So what does conspiracy mean? I believe it means to breathe together. I might be wrong, but con is with or together, and spira, whatever, I believe is from the Latin to breathe. I should have looked it up before I did it, but too late now. Anyway, so we have spiritual people that are looking for underlying causes in their own lives, and then in the way the whole world is set up. And now these so-called spiritual people, and remember, I think everybody's spiritual because everybody has a spirit, and it doesn't matter whether you're interested in it or believe in it or anything, but that's a different matter. So spiritual people are now looking at conspiracy theories. So, first of all, a lot of these people are just they have an intuitive awareness that there are conspiracies. They know that there are conspiracies, and then they hear a conspiracy theory, and a lot of it seems to line up with their intuition and their knowledge and whatever. I think a lot of people's conspiracy theories are wrong, and I think a lot of them are incomplete. I think a lot of them don't really hold water, and I think a lot of them are worthy of being looked at. I am not anti-vax. I got a vaccine. But if you look at the history of the pharmaceutical companies, if you look at the fact that pharmaceutical companies are more interested in their own profits than in curing disease, if you look at the fact that pharmaceutical companies hate and try to discredit any kind of medicine that is generic, that can be made by anybody, that they cannot make ridiculous profits off of, they will discredit that medication. So we cannot blindly trust pharmaceutical companies. That would be stupid. But that does not mean that there are octopus-like things living in your vaccine. Okay, there might be, I don't know. I am not speaking as a debunker of these theories. I am just trying to explain a little bit about what's going on with spiritual people and conspiracy theories. I think a lot of it is that we have a lot of people who just deep down in their gut, they know there are conspiracies. They don't necessarily have that much information on how the world works. They don't necessarily have a deep understanding of the power structure on Earth. And they might go for some crazy theories every now and then. But what makes it worse is that there's no good outlet for the mainstream discussion of conspiracies. And one reason for that is because all the people who might be the conspirators own a lot of the means of communication. How many people, how many companies control the news in America? A lot of these corporations are very connected. And the political structure is very connected. So you have the media. Now, who pays the media their money? The corporations for ads and the politicians. And how do the politicians get the money to pay the media for their ads? They get that money largely from corporations or large owners or stockholders of these corporations. So, for example, is the media, somebody like CNN, are they really going to put a lot of energy into uncovering the corruption that comes from political donations when they know that they're the ones with their hands out wanting that money for ads? We could just have all political ads be free. But that wouldn't make CNN happy. And so, when I was a kid and I would see these shows like Face the Nation, those Sunday news talk shows that were so respected. And the ads for these shows would be like Archer Daniels Midland. And I'm like, I don't go to the store and see any Archer's Daniel Midland stuff to buy. So who are these ads geared at? I mean, is that a brand that you go shopping for a lot? Archer Daniel. Now, I know they probably own a million things that you do buy. But it doesn't say Archer Daniel Midland on the damn package, right? Okay, I mean, if you see an ad for Tide detergent, it's, it says Tide on the commercial, it says Tide in the store. So why do you have all these defense contractors and you have pharmaceutical companies and big ag and whatever putting these ads on? Well, seems clear to me that's a good way to have a little leverage over these elite shows that, at least back then, all of the important people, all the big decision makers, the politicians and whatnot, these are things that all of these people were involved in. And so they watch the shows, they watch the ads, and to me it's kind of obvious. I don't have proof. I don't really need it. It just seems clear to me that if you're giving these people millions of dollars and you're not advertising anything that anybody can go buy at the store, that you're doing it to have some impact on the editorial choices of these shows. Because if they do some stuff you don't like, you could pull your ads. So anyway, spiritual people and conspiracy theories. Spiritual people understand that there's a lot of shit under the surface. But they might not have a very sophisticated way of analyzing that shit under the surface. And they might jump to certain theories that might seem a little bit crazy. And a lot of times, they have understandings that are pretty right on, right? They might analyze it a little bit wrong, a little bit incorrectly, and sometimes they go way the hell off the reservation. Absolutely. But number one, what we need to do is understand that there are conspiracies, that a lot of the world is run by conspiracies, because to say that it's not is to say that everything is happening because of individuals that are not working in collusion with any other individuals, and that's a ridiculous idea. So that's why I think spiritual people are interested in conspiracy theories, because they understand there is a matrix. They understand that there are agendas behind the scenes that are not really openly talked about in the mainstream media, by politicians, by the big figures out there. So you get fringe characters that come up with theories that a lot of times have elements of truth, but a lot of times get really distorted by the issues of the founders of these theories. And one thing that we need to watch out for about this is to separate the idea of the theory, the conspiracy, from the person espousing the theory. Just because somebody is crazy, just because somebody is far right, far left, whatever, doesn't mean that you need to throw away everything that they say, because even a broken clock is correct twice a day, right? So even the craziest conspiracy theorists out there do make some genuine points. And so I would invite everybody that if you don't like conspiracy theories, then look at how you might have been kind of programmed to think of a conspiracy as automatically wrong. And if you look at it from the other angle, well, then what is that saying? That there are no conspiracies? That's ridiculous. Obviously, there are conspiracies in the world. So, if there were a more robust, open debate about conspiracy theories, if these fringe characters could get a fair hearing, and not just in their little niche group on the internet, but on CNN, on MSNBC, on Fox News, whatever, and that all the different ones could be looked at and gone through. Because now what's happening is like, there's just an idea, well, that's just a conspiracy theory. Oh, you're just an anti-vaxxer. Oh, you believe in QAnon or whatever. There are plenty of very inaccurate conspiracy theories. But there also are plenty of conspiracies, and I think it would be good for us to know about the real conspiracies, and branding conspiracy theories as automatically crazy is a good way to let the real conspiracies hide in plain sight. So that's my 2 cents on spiritual people and conspiracy theories. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And I'm very open to making a follow-up video on this subject. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.